Good morning, and we are in chapter 62, and it's quite a long one. I think I'm going to do this in two parts, I am sure, again, this episode, and we'll see how this goes. So Moroni had written to Pahoran an angry letter, and Pahoran wrote back and said, well, actually, the person you should be angry with is these kingmen who have taken over the government, and I really need your help. And so this is where they're at. And now it came to pass that when Moroni had received this epistle, his heart did take courage, and was filled with exceeding great joy because of the faithfulness of Pahoran, and he was not also that he was not also a traitor to the freedom and cause of his country, but he did also mourn exceedingly because of the iniquity of those who had driven Pahoran from the judgment seat. Yea, in fine, because of those who had rebelled against their country, and also their God. And it came to pass that Moroni took a small number of men, according to the desire of Pahoran, and gave Lehi and Teancum command over the remainder of his army, and took his march towards the land of Gideon. And he did raise the standard of liberty in whatsoever place he did enter, and gained whatsoever force he could in all the march towards the land of Gideon. And it came to pass that thousands did flock to his standard, and did take up their swords in defense of their freedom, that they might not come into bondage. Remember, he did this almost 10 years ago, I guess, or so. Think about it that way. It was about 10 years that he had raised the standard of liberty, of freedom, or might have been 6 years, but that's a long time. Think about before COVID hit, and all the things we were doing before COVID, and then COVID hit, and then we had different things after that. A lot of things happened in that time, and I think a lot of these people have forgotten the standard of liberty, and Moroni is saying, hey, we still hold to these truths and these defense. He's going to the lands that have not been touched by battle, other than people going off to war. This is the center of the land. And thus, when Moroni had gathered together whatsoever men he could in all his march, he came to the land of Gideon, and uniting his forces with Pahoran, they became exceedingly strong, even stronger than the men of Pachus, who was the king of those dissenters who had driven the freemen out of the land of Zarahemla, and had taken possession of the land. It's just amazing that Pachus is so conceited that he thinks he's going to be able to be king. Anyway, and it came to pass that Moroni and Pahoran went down with their armies into the land of Zarahemla, and went forth among the city, against the city, and did meet the men of Pachus, insomuch that they did come to battle. And behold, Pachus was slain, and his men were taken prisoners, and Pahoran was restored to his judgment seat. And the men of Pachus received their trial according to the law. Remember last time when they had captured some kingmen, they left some to wait until they could go to trial later, because they needed to get on with the war. This time they said, we're going to just do the trial now. According to law, notice it says according to the law, and also those kingmen who had been taken and cast into prison, and they were, so remember, these are the ones he's saying also those king men, the ones that they threw away in prison ages ago, and have been sitting there all that time, and they were executed according to the law. I don't. Well, it does. I was going to say, I don't think that you have to say, well, they were killed according to the law, but executed could have meant that the law was executed, or they got their punishment according to the law. But their punishment is death. So, yea, those men of Pachus and those king men, whosoever would not take up arms in defense of their country, but would fight against it, were put to death. That seems very, when you're reading it in just isolation here, that seems very harsh. But remember, these are traitors. These are people who tried to overthrow the government, and to incite war, and to actually go to the other side. I don't think any country has ever had a more harsh penalty than to those that are traitors. And this is normal. This really is normal, to put those traitors to death if they would not. And I think it's amazing that they would say, well, if they would not take up arms against their country, or in defense of their country. So it's very important to realize that they did get that option. Some people would just kill him outright and say, well, you're a traitor, and we can't trust you. So, but he's given them a chance to be trusted before. I mean, they're already convicted of what they did. They took up arms against their country, and they've also colluded with the enemies who were on the border. And these guys caused so much death. Just read back Moroni's letter, where he talks about the thousands that died and the thousands that were left hungry and starving and died fighting. And think, there is a reason for this. And thus it became expedient that the law should be strictly observed for the safety of their country. Yea, and whosoever was found denying their freedom was speedily executed according to the law. And thus ended the 30th year of the reign of the judges over the people of Nephi. And Moroni and Pahoran, having restored peace to the land of Zarahemla among their own people, having inflicted death upon all those who were not true to the cause of freedom. And it came to pass at the commencement of the 31st year of the reign of the judges over the people of Nephi, Moroni immediately caused that the provisions should be sent, and also an army of 6,000 men should be sent unto Helaman. That's just over 1,000 men per city that they took back. But that's to help them out. That's a great thing. And he also caused that an army of 6,000 men with sufficient quantity of food should be sent to the armies of Lehi and Teancum. And it came to pass that this was done to fortify the land against the Lamanites. And it came to pass that Moroni and Pahoran, leaving a large body of men in the land of Zarahemla, took their march with a large body of men towards the land of Nephi, being determined to overthrow the Lamanites in that city. Now they're using almost Lamanite tactics at this point, where they're saying, you know what, we're just going in force. Lamanites understand force. We're going to make sure that we're a much bigger army than they are, and then we'll see how they feel. And it came to pass, they were marching towards the land. They took a large body of men of the Lamanites, and slew them and took their provisions, slew many of them and took their provisions and their weapons of war. And I love this. And it came to pass that after they had taken them, they caused them to enter into a covenant that they would no more take up weapons of war against the Nephites. This is the same tactic he used way back with Zarahemnah, several chapters ago. Caused them to enter into a covenant that they would no more take up weapons of war against the Nephites. Now look what they do in this verse. And when they had entered into this covenant, they sent them to dwell with the people of Ammon, and they were in number about 4,000 who had not been slain. They didn't just send them away. They didn't say, go back to your Amron, who's going to be very upset with you for saying that you won't fight. Let's take you to somewhere that's safe. Let's take you to the people of Ammon. You don't have to make that same covenant. Well, you kind of did, because you're not going to take up your weapons of war against us. But you go with them, and they do. The people of Ammon just open their arms again and again. Remember, a lot of these people were probably the people who tried to kill the people of Ammon. At one time. These are the people that were coming into the land trying to get to the people of Ammon. And now this is caused to be upon them. They didn't all of a sudden wake up and go, actually, I think I'm going to defect. What happened was they were compelled to give up their weapons of war, and then they made a covenant that they wouldn't take up weapons of war because they could die. And so it's a little bit different thing, but they still covenanted, and the people of Ammon will make sure that they keep that covenant, not by force, but by love. And it came to pass when they had sent them away, they pursued their march towards the land of Nephihah. And it came to pass that when they had come to the city of Nephihah, they did pitch their tents in the plains of Nephihah, which is near the city of Nephihah. Now Moroni was desirous that the Lamanites should come out to battle against them upon the plains, but the Lamanites, knowing their exceeding great courage, and beholding the greatness of their numbers, therefore they durst not come out against them. Therefore they did not come to battle that day. And when night came, Moroni went forth in the darkness of the night, and it came upon the top of the wall to spy out in what part of the city the Lamanites did camp with their army. Now I feel that what they were doing was they were just trying to see where they were, how they were situated, but they got a discovery. And it came to pass that they were on the east by the entrance, and they were all asleep. I think Moroni found their weakness. Now when Moroni built these cities, they were fortified that there was no weak spot except the entrance. So these people said, well, let's camp everybody by the entrance, which left a weak spot on the other side. The walls were only there for protection, but they had to put vigilance on those walls. They had to put people in the towers and on the walls. That's what made Moroni's fortification so strong. And the Lamanites forgot that, or didn't think about that, I guess. And now Moroni returned to his army and caused that they should prepare in haste strong cords and ladders. Now this is why I say that he wasn't expecting this, that they had not put people on the walls to watch, because he made them to prepare strong cords in haste, which means, oh wait, we've got a way in. We can do this. To be let down from the top of the wall in an inner part of the wall. I love the fact that they're able to do this, and it's just like, we can do this. We can do it in a way that will save lives. And it came to pass that Moroni caused that his men should march forth and come upon the top of the wall and let themselves down into that part of the wall of the city, even on the west, where the Lamanites did not camp with their armies. Remember, if they're going to kill many and subdue 4,000 men in such an ease that nobody dies or anything like that, this is a big army, and that's a lot of men going over the walls. So they did have to, let's see, how else can we do this? Let's pull these vines down. Let's make a rope from this, we don't need this tent right now. Let's make it a rope out of it. I think that's how it was, and they were trying to get as many men over the wall as fast as possible in the quietest way. Where did we end up? And let themselves down in the part of the city, even on the west, where the Lamanites did not camp with their armies. And it came to pass that when they were all let down into the city by night, by means of their strong cords and their ladders, thus when the morning came, they were all within the walls of the city. Now when the Lamanites awoke and saw the armies of Moroni were within the walls, they were affrighted exceedingly, insomuch that they did flee out of the pass. Now when Moroni saw that they were fleeing before him, he did cause that his men should march forth against them, and slew many, and surrounded many others, and took them prisoners. And the remainder of them fled into the land of Moroni, which was in the borders by the seashore. And thus had Moroni and Pehoran obtained the possession of the city of Nephihah without loss of one soul. And there were many of the Lamanites who were slain. He's keeping his promise to Amram. But the wonderful thing is that he's trying to find out a way that he doesn't lose lives. And sometimes that's the Lamanites' lives, but if he's going to lose anybody's lives, it's going to be the Lamanites' lives, not his own soldiers. And now it came to pass that many of the Lamanites that were prisoners were desirous to join the people of Ammon. So this time we actually have people that have been thinking, you know what? Actually, there was a I do see the reasoning, and I think it would be good to join. So some of them, or many of them, were desirous to join the people of Ammon and become a free people. And it came to pass that as many as were desirous, unto them it was granted according to their desires. So there's those that were desirous, and then it says, therefore all the prisoners of the Lamanites did join the people of Ammon. So I feel that there were some that were at their core desirous to join the people of Ammon, and then the other brethren are going, oh, I don't want to be left here. I'll go too if you'll let me, and make a covenant not to fight against you guys again. So this is just, can you imagine the amount of people that joined the people of Ammon at that time, and did begin to labor exceedingly, tilling the ground, raising all manner of grain, and flocks and herds of every kind. And thus were the Nephites relieved of a great burden, yea, insomuch that they were relieved from all the prisoners of the Lamanites. That is amazing. This is a huge amount of people. They do say Lamanites. I don't know if that means any were defectors or what, but definitely all the Lamanites were relieved in this way, and a lot of them probably never farmed in their whole life, and now are learning how to take care of flocks and herds and raise all manner of grains. These are our warriors, and they're learning something new. They're learning something that actually can sustain them. Now it came to pass that Moroni, after he had obtained possession of the city of Nephihah, having taken many prisoners, which did reduce the armies of the Lamanites exceedingly, having regained many of the Nephites who had been taken prisoners, which did strengthen the army of Moroni exceedingly. Therefore Moroni went forth to the land of Lehi, and it came to pass that when the Lamanites saw that Moroni was coming against them, they were again frightened and fled before the army of Moroni. And it came to pass that Moroni and his army did pursue them from city to city until they were met by Lehi and Teancum, and the Lamanites fled from Lehi and Teancum even down unto the borders of upon the borders of the seashore until they came to the land of Moroni. Thinking about finishing there, so we'll find out after in the second part what happens after that. So Moroni is really going on the offensive here, and it's really working. And in the second part, we'll see the aftermath as well. We'll see the conclusion and the aftermath of what happens, and we'll see in a second.